Well, by the time this video is published, Celtic will have a little over 24 hours to register their squad for the UEFA Champions League playoff qualifier, which takes place next week. We now know our opponents, we know what we have to do, and yet Celtic are nowhere near closer to bringing in players in time for that deadline. We have to go with what we have, and we're going to talk about that today amongst some other things. Some people getting a little bit worried, but I'm going to give you all my opinions here in this video today. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We're back today with another quiet one. Yep, another quiet day today. No signings. But we're going to try and get through it anyway. Pardon me if any sweat drips down my forehead during this video. I'm sure you can understand why. It's roasting. So on that note, I want to get through things quickly today. So let's talk about the Champions League, shall we? So Celtic will face Almaty in that all-important Champions League qualifier. The winner will go through to the league phase of the competition this season after they beat Slovan Bratislava on penalties last night. The side from Kazakhstan have fought their way through the entirety of Champions League qualifiers and now face their biggest task in playing us over the next couple of weeks. Celtic have till tomorrow evening to register the squad that will take part in those two games, and the stage is set. We know what we have to do, and I'm not going to sit here and repeat most of the things you've already heard. The first leg will be played at Celtic Park on Wednesday, August 20th, with a kick-off of 8 PM, and then the 7,000-mile trip begins as we head to Almaty in far east Kazakhstan, 24,000 Central Stadium. The kick-off will be 5:45 PM our time, which is 9:45 local time, I believe, and that will happen on Tuesday, August 26th. So a big task for Celtic. We have to travel to Kazakhstan right before we play Rangers on that August 31st derby. It will be a tough and gruelling week for the side, and one that's brought up plenty of conversation. As I said, I'm not going to repeat the things that you've heard already from numerous outlets on the news and the papers everywhere else. We know how far away we're going here. It's Far East Kazakhstan. It's closer to Tokyo, Japan than it is Glasgow, Scotland, for Christ's sake. And Celtic will face a huge journey both ways to play a very important game over there and then a very important game following that against Rangers at Ibrox. It's a big, big week for Celtic. But the point in this segment of the video isn't to talk about Almaty for a moment. It's to talk about the reaction following the draw last night. I get it, right? I get it. It's nerve-wracking, especially because we haven't recruited well enough heading into this game. Celtic have gambled with Champions League qualification, it feels like, because of the lack of signings we have made. But it's a gamble that, and I hate to say this, for the board, on paper should pay off. This was the easiest tie possible for Celtic to get. Either Slovan Bratislava or Almaty was the easiest possible draw for Celtic in this round of Champions League qualification. And anything other than a convincing win for Celtic would raise serious questions. And I know a lot of people are getting nervous and thinking, oh, can we do it? Yes, of course we can. And we should be. If we don't, it's our own fault. It's laughable, it's embarrassing, and it will go down as an all-time stinker for Celtic. Everybody would have to be questioned across all areas of the club, not just the board for the lack of signings. We'd have to question what happened at the management level of things. We'd have to question the players on the park. We have the opportunity to have this game, done and dusted at Celtic Park next week. We could blow them out the water, and I'm going to give them the respect they deserve for getting to the point they are. I'm not saying that Celtic will go and win 5, 6, 7-0 next week, but Celtic are that far ahead of them in UEFA club rankings. Celtic have so much more money than them that we should be beating them quite convincingly. In fact, this is a side that is ranked lower than the likes of Hearts in UEFA club rankings. The Champions League for them is a dramatic overachievement. Europa League for them is a dramatic overachievement. And I've been slightly concerned about the amount of concern some Celtic fans are showing. You'd think that we're a pub side with some of the opinions I'm hearing. Look, Celtic could have recruited better heading into this game. There's no denying that. Yes, we could have a much better trip. But in this day and age, in the year of our Lord 2025, with sports science and top-class facilities and physios and everything else, you know, this flight for Celtic shouldn't stop them from qualifying for the Champions League. That should not stop them, and this is a game we should win without a shadow of any doubt. And it's as simple as that. And I am fully confident that Celtic will get the job done, while also sharing the frustrations that we could have been better equipped for this game. But the board will be laughing. The board will love the fact that we've drew a team that we should be putting to the sword, and they will be so vindicated in their decision to hold off on making signings till after qualification. But there is that slight chance that you mess it up. There is that chance that Kairat Almaty pull out the upset of the century. Historically, travelling to these regions hasn't been kind to Celtic. I often think back to Shakhtar Karagandhi. I often think back to Astana a few years ago where we made life difficult for ourselves. And yes, these were ties that ultimately Celtic won, but we showed signs of weakness. We showed signs of fatigue. I'm just hoping that in this day and age where the squad is much, much better, we don't show those same signs of weakness and fatigue. We might not have the greatest attacking setup at the minute, but we're going over here with one of the best defensive setups I've seen Celtic have in a long time, with Tierney, Johnston, Vickers and co, with a very stacked midfield. I mean, Kairat Almaty don't have the players to match up to that, and that's just simple fact. So, listen, I've said it and I'll say it again. If Celtic don't win, if Celtic don't qualify for the Champions League phase, it's embarrassing, and we'd have to deal with that. But I'm not going to entertain that possibility right now because Celtic should be winning the tie. I know a lot of people won't like me sounding so confident in that, but at the end of the day, there is a difference between blind confidence and confidence that is placed in your side because they are the overwhelming favourites for a game. So, yeah, please remember that before you go off on one at the comments saying that I'm being a little bit too optimistic in our team's abilities. This is a team that went toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich last year in the Champions League. We should be beating this mob. They currently sit at the top of their domestic league table. They are clear of Astana after 19 games played, enjoying a pretty good season, looking to defend their title. But they've only played group competitions in Europe once, and that was the Conference League a few years back. That shows you the sort of level and the pedigree difference we're looking at here. But it's not going to stop them having a good go for it. Christ, they've worked their way here for a reason. They've beat Slovan Bratislava, and their chief executive is certainly feeling confident. He spoke in the media following the game last night, saying that he is certainly looking forward to the game and that they're going to have a right good go for it. He said, and this was the chairman, Kairat Boranbayev, who said, "I told the players they must remember this happy moment. We're making history and I urge them to keep their hunger and preserve it for the next round. We now have a great chance of making some noise in Europe." So they certainly know what's at stake. They certainly know the history they could make as well. Yeah, I'm not underestimating them by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not writing them off from giving Celtic a good go, but we are dramatically favourites here, and so we should be. And I'm repaying the faith I have in my own team by saying that, because I don't want to be a pessimistic Celtic supporter. I think all Celtic fans would be unanimous in their confidence for Champions League qualification if the Celtic board had done their job this summer and equipped the team better for the game. But as it stands, with this registration closing tomorrow, there isn't much to talk about. And in fact, the only transfer rumour that seems to be circulating today is once again in regards to a defender. Not an attacker, not even a midfielder, but a defender. And that's not what we're looking for. But we'll talk about it anyway. So this headline popped up this afternoon in the Scotsman that Celtic are well positioned for a £4.3 million rated star. And that player is somebody we've already spoke about in this window, and it's centre-back Etienne Ute. Now, the story isn't an exclusive by the Scotsman. In fact, it's picked up on from a Italian journalist, Rudy Galletti, who reported today that Celtic are looking like they are the leading candidates to sign Etienne Ute. So Celtic's interest in the player has been long-standing and have been tracking the player now for over a month, with initial contact coming back in late June, which we spoke about at the time, if you remember. The player is entering the final year of his contract with Le Havre and now is available for around £4.3 million, which is well below his market value due to the contractual situation. Now, he also reports that now Besiktas and Anderlecht are in the race to sign the player, and it makes it a little bit more complex, and at the moment his future is undecided. But Celtic are apparently well positioned in the race. Everything is still open, and it's down to the preference of the player, with an eventual offer probably being on the table, and that's where the difference will be made. Celtic well placed, according to Rudy Galletti. Interestingly enough, this has happened a few days after the player himself spoke about potentially leaving Le Havre. He said in an interview that he needs to be patient before making a decision. For the moment, he's still at Le Havre and feeling good with the group and preparing for the new season. But if there's an interesting offer for him and the club, we will find an agreement together. So it sounds like the sort of statement that says, I'm off if the right offer comes in. And if something works for me, I want to take it. Will Celtic still be interested after the signing of Jemai Simpson-Pusey? Maybe, maybe not. Simple as that. I know that sounds very, congratulations, Captain Obvious, but we don't really know as of right now. But apparently we're well placed in this chase for the player. And considering that Simpson-Pusey will return to Manchester City next year and probably not come back to Celtic, I don't see any harm in going for Etienne Ute. I think he looks decent, and of course he's available for a price much cheaper than his market valuation. But we should be going for attackers first. That's where things get a bit frustrating. Right, that does it. I need to get out of here. I am sweating. That's terrible. If you've enjoyed, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.